you have an emergency fund? No.
Okay.
Okay. So if you lose your job today, how long can you survive with whatever you have? For
Yeah.
most people, that's maybe a month or two. So I said that you shouldn't be investing. The first step is to build up reserves and buffers. That's the first step.
Okay.
Once you have done that, then the excess above that is what you can invest.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Caribbean Rediscovered. My name is Sint Maarten, and we are continuing on the journey of interviewing people for our new series, which is called Surviving a Pandemic While Doing Business. This is the fourth interview, and today it's a topic that I think a lot of us, I'm almost sure all of you have had a moment, especially in the last year and a half, of what am I going to do when it comes to my finances? Your finances may have changed. You might have other ways you've maybe come up with creative ways on how to still be able to cover all your costs monthly. But the fact is, it's not an easy time. And I thought it was very interesting to interview a specialist that actually helps people on how to stay financially healthy. So checked in my network and I found someone that I know in St. Martin. His name is Emilio Kalmera. He's going to tell you all about his expertise and what he focuses on. But what's important today is that we're going to get more insights on how to deal with your finances in any period of your life. I mean, right now in an economical crisis, there is still a smart way on how to deal with your finances. So, thank you for accepting the invite and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, actually. Glad
Yeah,
to be here. Yeah.
good, 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 good. Before we get into the interview, how are you? How have you been? How has life been for you the last year and a half?
Oh, with the COVID, well, my thing with the COVID, I actually was in California attending a wedding when the peak of it hit, and that was in March, and I had some couple more days to stay in California as well as go to New York, because I've never been to New York.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, the prime minister said she's closing down St. Martin, and if you don't get back here at a certain time, you're gonna get stuck wherever you're at. So I had to rebook a flight, fly to New York, and then get up in New York, come back to St. Martin. That I messed up my whole vacation. And from since then, it's been downhill because for me, I use vacation and going off island as a way of alleviating stress,
Yeah.
like regenerating myself, stuff like that. And now I have not able to do that for the last from since March. Then you can say.
Yeah.
So it has been a bit stressful from that point of view, but not from a monetary point of view. And I explain that as we go along.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's interesting to know because when I ask people like how's life been, monetary is something that comes up where they say, well, I haven't had the best time. But what is it specifically? What is your specialism when it comes to finances?
Okay, so I have a background in finance and accounting. My bachelor's actually in finance and accounting. My passion, however, is not finance. Could you believe that? My passion
Okay.
actually is flying. Actually flying an aircraft.
Oh, nice.
So I also went for my private pilot license, and I didn't go further into it. But that's my passion.
Okay.
Travel as a whole is my passion as well. But I got into finances back in the day because I actually wanted to do engineering in the States, but the engineering degree was much more expensive. So
Mhm.
I decided to get into a program that does a combination of aviation business, administration, plus flying. I started to do that in the first year, but then it got kind of expensive, and I was trying to see if I can work in the States. But when I went up that year, they will stop giving students the social security number.
Mhm.
And without that number, as you may know, you cannot work.
No.
So I was getting some struggles with that. And I decided, you know what? I think it's best for me to try to go to Holland because I can work, I can save money and stuff. Because that was my thing. I don't want to rely on one source, which was my mom at the time, because my father wasn't contributing. And
Okay.
so, and my mom it's four of us. So
Yeah.
all of us in college is a strain on my mom.
Mhm.
So, and then states being very expensive. I like, you know what? I can't work. I can't do anything. I feel like a chicken. I feel stuck. So
Yeah.
then I gave up. I gave up my dream study, so to speak, and went to Holland. And I couldn't find the same study, so I got into the program of bedrijfseconomie in Dutch, they call it. So business economics, if you translate it literally. Then I did finance and accounting, a double degree program between England and Holland. That's what I did. It was rough because in almost every accounting book I would fall asleep. I just found it was boring. The finance part was good, like they have financial management. So to kind of dampen the boredom, I took other classes that was not finance related, like strategic management, investment management, and business and services marketing. So those
Okay.
three was not really related to finance and accounting, and that kind of helped me got through a lot of the boredom of the accounting part.
So you had a strategy even in school days and how to finish up
You
stuff.
always have to have a strategy. You always have
Definitely,
to have a strategy. Yeah,
definitely.
even in business, you know. Yeah,
Mhm.
even in business. Yeah.
And then your journey started after college. What did you do?
Well, luckily for me, I did an internship with government, and I did my graduating project with government as well. So
Mhm.
when I did that, they were familiar with what I did. I actually built a system because I also have a little programming background as well.
Mhm.
Learned it by on the fly, so to speak, and I built a system for government. And because of that, they hired me back from Holland. So when I came back from Holland, I already had a job basically lined up. So
Mhm.
that was a bit interesting. And then I got into government. I stayed there for I think about three years or something like that. Then I was got an opportunity to go by RBTT Bank, the then RBTT Bank, which is now RBC,
Mhm.
as a department head of credit and administration. So all the business loans would go through my department. So I was the department head for that. I stayed in that capacity for a little over 4 years. Got a lot of experience too because the bank was going over through a new banking system, and they made me like a super user. I had to learn the system. I also have to learn how to train people. So I did courses in train the trainer.
Yeah.
And that's how I actually got into training actually, because I was never good at speaking to people.
Okay.
I never thought I would have been a teacher, so to speak. But when I did the training in order how to learn how to train people, I said, this is not so bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that actually became my side hustle, which is training people how to finance, budgeting, business planning, and those type of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're getting now to the topic of being financially smart.
yeah,
I think we can go back as far, one of the questions somebody asked me that I should ask is, how come people struggle so much with their personal finances? Have you been able to analyze that?
yeah. The good thing is when I start to give the Pacific course called budgeting. So budgeting is not just putting down what you're gonna get and what you think you're gonna spend. It's also tracking it. So once you put it in, the put it in is sort of the guide. That's my planning, and then the actual tracking to compare against your planning is very important. So
Yeah.
I end up building. I built a tool. Actually, the tool started in Holland because I noticed in Holland I wasn't managing my expenses at all, and I was getting into problems with phone bills and a lot of these things. And
Mhm.
that's what I started to do the budgeting part. Very simple. Started off very simple, and then it went very advanced.
Mhm.
And now, because of my multiple being in multiple countries and those type of things, it helps to know where my money is coming from, where is it going, and those sort of things. So it starts with a budget. And
Yeah.
most people don't like to hear that word. Huh? They don't like to hear the word budgeting. And I will be honest with you, it's not something that I love to do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It takes a lot of time or whatever. But I realize if I don't do it, it causes a number of problems that I just can't explain. I can't tell you where my money going. I feel like a fish out of water now that I'm so into it now that if I don't do it, I feel like a fish out of water.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So, in your trainings, I think you've come across that people have the struggle with
Yeah.
finances in
A
the
lot.
last year and a half. You've had to been able. I, for myself, I decided to fully go into my consultancy in the last year and a half. And even with my finances, you're used to spending certain amount of money. You're
Mhm.
used to a certain lifestyle. And with
Yeah.
the pandemic, I think for some people or a lot of people, you've had to adjust. What
Yeah.
is some advice you would give people on how to make adjustments within your finances and pretty much just stay financially smart?
Okay, for me, it was what was a revelation for me is figuring out what is the minimum I need to survive. So if I want all my needs taken care of, what is that? What is that point? It's like a break even point they call it. In business, you also have it. Every
Yeah.
business should determine what their break even point is, break even
Mhm.
sales point is,
Mhm.
and that is so important for also for in your personal life. And I figured that out really quick.
Mhm.
So the advice would be is know the difference between wants and needs, and
Yeah.
then once you figure that out, determine what are my needs, and then go do a value to that. What is that? For me, it came down to about I can live off of $1,500 to $2,000 comfortably. and
Mm-hmm.
I make much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So the excess is what I can save easily. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But most people don't do that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what is that for you, for example? What is that for somebody else? And most
Yeah.
people have not rethought of it. You know,
Yeah.
so I think the first step is to figure out what is the basic minimum I need to survive, and that's needs. Not no wants or anything like that. Just needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then you hear a lot of people talking now about passive income. I think
yeah.
the biggest trend I see on everybody's about passive income, passive income. You've actually been forced to do passive income. What are your thoughts on that? And what have you seen that people are venturing out to when it comes? What are the different things you can do in the Caribbean when it comes to passive income?
Well, some people I noticed a lot now in St. Martin. A lot of people are doing apartments, so they have real estate, whether inherited or however they have it, and they never thought about apartments before. So what they
Yeah.
would do now, they would put maybe go upstairs, build upstairs, and rent it out. Or if they have a little space in the yard, they would like build like maybe 2 units and rent it out. So that's passive income.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you can do that, because not everybody can do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's one way. Some people get into foreign exchange now. I'm seeing a lot. That's trading, but that takes a lot of time. So you have to have the time to do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are asking more and more now to do like a like stock trading. So
Okay.
stocks and bonds and stuff like that. I've also seen crypto now. People are trying to do. So now people are always now realizing that you need more than one source of income,
Yeah.
because there's three sources of income. You have portfolio, passive, and of course you have earned income. The problem with earned income, which is salary wise, is the highest tax. It's taxed the highest, and it's progressively taxed as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so for some people, you know, if the tax system is not in accordance to the cost of living, you're gonna always have a problem, because that's the situation we have in St. Martin. Yes, we getting taxed highest rates in the Caribbean, but our cost of living is also the highest, so it doesn't
Yeah.
jive. So if you don't find other sources, you will struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Like Warren
That,
Buffett said, if you don't find a way to make money when you sleep, as you sleep, you will work until you die. And he's correct. And he's
yeah.
very correct.
Yeah. So actually, money should just be able. Yeah, I think that's a lifestyle that you have to change into. That you no longer can just focus on one source of income, and that's what
Correct.
this period of time has done
Correct.
for us. Now, when
Yeah.
you're coaching, what are the different? What exactly do you do as a coach with persons when it comes to their personal finances? How does that
So
look like?
yeah, so what I do, some people has come to me, they want to start investing straight away. I ask some simple questions. Do you have an emergency fund? No.
Okay.
Okay. So if you lose your job today, how long can you survive with whatever you have? For
Yeah.
most people, that's maybe a month or two. So I said that you shouldn't be investing. The first step is to build up reserves and buffers. That's the first step.
Okay.
Once you have done that, then the excess above that is what you can invest. Like all my investment is money that just it's excess money. It's not money I need. You know what I mean? So I can afford to invest it, because I already have my emergency fund. I have my car fund in case my car break down. I can, you know what I mean? So I have
Yeah.
those in place already. So the
Mm-hmm.
first step is to build that up. For most persons, I realize to get there, they have to start paying down debt, because a lot of them have credit card debt, they have consumer debt, they have all these type of debt. So it's difficult to build up a reserve fund with all this debt.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is one-on-one. I go one-on-one with them, look at their finances, and say, okay, here's where your problem is, and here we have to then start working on before we can get to the investment part. So
Yeah.
it's like always like a one-on-one, basically to see, because everybody's situation is different. I can't.
Mhm.
If you go to a doctor, you have to diagnose you first before he give you a prescription, right? So
Yeah.
most people come and give me investment advice. How? I don't know. I don't know. I have not diagnosed you.
Your financial history is important to know your patterns and your trends when it comes to
Right.
dealing with your own
Right.
finances
Right.
and businesses. Because I know that in St. Martin and here also in Suriname, we've had, especially in the tourism industry, a lot of businesses have closed down.
Mhm.
In St. Martin, I can imagine that you also have business owners. How do you? What advice would you give a business owner at this moment that it seems like they're sinking?
Mhm.
They have the finances, they might have a little bit of savings, business is not going as they want to. What is a strategy you would tell them to apply?
Okay. So is it possible to share my screen to can just show you
Yeah,
something quick?
sure.
Okay. Okay, so let's pull up this something called the BI triangle. It's something that I really gravitate towards. It's
Okay.
actually from Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
So let me see. This is so important to grasp, and this is something I try to follow. And if it's not holistically in place, then I don't go fully into the business. I do like more like a sampling in the business. I don't really go full force into it,
Mhm.
because you need to have the team, the mission, and the leadership are the core. So these three have to be there, but then you have the systems that comes with all of this, which is cash flow management, communications, your system that you use, the legal framework, and your product. So most people think the product is important, but the product is only part of it. And so all of this have to be in place to kind of understand your business first of all, and understanding your I would say, let me unshare this.
Mhm.
So I would say you need to have, for example, knowing your cost structure of your business, really understanding that, because some people don't really take the time to look at that. They
Mhm.
also have to look at something called the contribution margins of their products. Each product contributes to your success, contributes to paying expenses, right? But
Yeah.
some people will ask them, okay, like in a restaurant, I will ask them which product has the highest contribution margin. They will look at you like, what you talking about? You know what I mean? So which product gives you the highest net difference? So if you look at the cost versus the sales of the product, if you subtract those two, which one has the highest contribution margin? Because in a
Okay.
rough patch, you might have to then get rid of products that's not selling as good and focus mainly on your breadwinner.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Instead of having substitutes that's dragging you down. So you have to really understand your business cost structure, your break-even sales, all these things you have to really understand. And I do some financial, I say that now, like filing for some customers of mine, do the financial statements, and when I do the financial report and I show it to them, they don't ask any questions. Like for example, if I don't tell them, look, your sales has decreased because I noticed so and so and so, your purchasing was too much. You're not purchasing in bulk. Can you purchase in bulk to lower your cost or whatever? But they don't ask any questions.
No.
And so they just conduct business without having a fundamentals of the what's goes on behind the scenes, and that's for me strange.
And do you see that a lot with the smaller businesses or
Smaller
bigger?
businesses,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
smaller businesses,
And
even even in medium term businesses too, but more mainly in small businesses, yeah.
what could be the reason that people do that? What is the reason why they don't? Is it because they're more busy with the hustle of the business, or
Yeah, you see, that's why I showed the BI triangle, because
yeah,
the team, you see that team there is very important. Okay, because you can be the leader in your business, but if you don't have a team, it's a problem, because not everyone is good at financials. Let's
yeah,
be real. Some people are good at selling. Some
yeah.
people are good at customer service, communications. Some people are good at handling the legal aspects and so forth. And
Hmm.
as a small business, sometimes you have to be able to take care of all these things, and so that bog you down. And
Yeah,
the financial part, some people don't really have the time to take care of, and that's because you don't also have that team that you really need to have in order to make the business what it is.
yeah,
Personally, for example, me, I can do a lot, but my expertise is not necessarily um doing certain things. I prefer to have somebody do my marketing, and I can do it myself. But if you have someone specialized in that, I can focus on what I'm good at, which is
yeah.
sales, and the administrative part of it and the filing. That's my strong point.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If I have to focus on that, and also sales is very difficult.
And how soon? Because for small businesses, medium businesses, how soon would you say you need to have somebody that's going to? If you're not good at it, at what point? What point is your company healthy enough to say I'm going to include somebody to take over my finances or to do the administration for my finances?
You see, it depends again on the level of competition in the industry that you're in. If
Okay.
you're in a if you're in an industry where it's very competitive and it's very no, there's very little barrier to entry. You know what I mean? And you're competing. You have to compete with all these people. You're gonna have to get somebody ASAP, because as the game is just too much. Maybe in an industry where it's new and you only maybe two persons in the industry, you can
Yeah.
gradually build it up. You know what I mean? Because your product you're gonna sell, you're the only one of two or whatever, or the only one. You know what I mean? Then you have that time to still gradually get there. But if
Yeah.
you're not at an industry where it's very competitive or whatever, you gotta come correct from the beginning, and that what makes it challenging. Because in St. Martin, there's no new types of businesses. There's always the
It's
same types of
saturated.
businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the market is
yeah,
totally saturated. And then
yeah.
you were talking about investing and stockbroking. Those are ways to then actually be able to go over the border then to get more finances. Is that easy for people in the Caribbean to do? Because I think when I hear about stocks and crypto and all those things. It seems like
you
it's
know,
more so far-fetched.
yeah.
How how do you get into that? Just in a nutshell, how do you get
How you
into
get into it? Okay,
yeah,
so I was in the past, prior to 2007, I was trying to get into the market. Almost impossible to do that because first of all, it was a big players world, I would say. But
yeah.
the technology came out to allow small fish like us to get in, and that was in
Mhm.
2007. There was a one broker that allowed us to get in from the Caribbean. Before it wasn't possible. There was a Dutch guy went to United States, set up a company called Zeco Trading, and that company was allowed to allow international clients to step in, and that's what I got into the market in 2007, December 2007, and
Okay.
I've been in the market ever since. I never got out of the market, and so over time they make it more difficult now that they're not allowing more and more international clients to get in because of all the regulations and so forth. But you
Mhm.
do still have brokers that would allow you to get in,
Okay.
and I would recommend first do a class. I also give classes on that. Do a
Okay.
class first, and then you step in, and then if you have excess money to invest, it's good because you put your money in a savings account on the island. You're not getting 1%. Some places
Mhm.
might give you 2%. If you're lucky, you might get 3%. But that's not enough to beat the cost of living. You have to get at least minimum 5% and up.
So excess money. How much excess money do you need to start investing? What would you say percentage wise that you're
That's the
okay with?
tricky part now because depending on in my class, I do an analysis of the person to see what is their risk tolerance and risk profile.
Mhm.
If that if that comes out to be that your risk profile is very low, that you can't take risks in the situation that you're in now, I would recommend the boring investments, which is fixed income investments. So fixed income investment gives you a fixed return at a relatively low risk, and then they pay you back the money after a certain point in time. The problem with that though is if you're starting small, you're
Mhm.
not gonna grow your money anytime soon if you don't keep adding contributions because the amount is fixed and the values don't fluctuate that much like stocks.
Mhm.
Now, if you can't do that, then the best thing to do is to learn how to speculate. Because with speculation now, you can grow a small amount into a big amount pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you have to, so either you have the big money to get a decent return. If not, you have to then learn the speculation aspect to kind of grow your money as you won't be able to do it.
Yeah. Seen in your bio that you on St. Martin, you've also branched out into different ventures. Can you tell me a
Yeah,
little bit about that? I saw this really nice promo video of Indulgence.
yeah,
Congratulations on that. The food looks
yeah.
amazing. I can't wait to come back to St. Martin and try it. But tell me about your new ventures.
Yeah, so the newest one is Indulgence. So that is like an upscale type of lounge, serving tapas, artisan cocktails, and desserts at very high end. We want to launch with a fixed location, but we realize with COVID and whatever, that might not be the best thing to do. So we
Hmm.
started with a soft launch, a pop-up. We chose a villa, a very fancy villa, and we did a pop-up. It was for free actually. We only selected certain types of people in the community because we kind of doing our niche is not really having everybody. It's a little upscale, so, and that's with business too. You have to for each business you have to determine who's your market, who's your
Okay.
target, and that has to be clear because if you try to please everybody in your business, you're gonna fail. So in this particular business, Indulgence, we focus on more high end.
Okay.
Okay, and so we did a soft launch that was excellent, and then the feedback was, hey, this pop-up thing is nice. We love the idea of being able to, 1 minute
Go
you're by a
to
villa, the
yeah.
next minute maybe you're by a beach, the next minute you maybe in a safari. I know they love that concept. So
Yeah.
that's what we did. So we took a step back, and now we're trying to see, okay, how can we make this pop-up a reality, but the cost structure has to be in check because we don't want it to be too costly either. Even though our niche is more high end, it still has
Mhm.
to be affordable at the end of the day. So that's where we at now in after launching our soft launch.
Okay. And I
Yeah,
read also that you do a radio program for the love
right.
of money.
For the
Nice.
love of money. Yeah, I've been
How
doing
what
that
is
for a while. I've been doing that
okay?
for a while. That came about because the owner of the radio station, he wanted something to do with financial literacy, and I say, okay, I can offer something, and we started a little while back, and then it was going pretty good. People love to listen in, get some advices or whatever. Got some feedback that sometimes I'm a bit too technical, so I had to sometimes break it down some more, just to inform people what's going on. And so that's what I do. That's what I do. Yeah.
And how do you think about youngsters? I mean, I think we all have kids and the teenagers, and you're just talking about financial literacy.
Yeah.
What is your what is maybe your thoughts, especially now you're going to learn to deal with your kids differently, teach them early on about finances.
Yeah.
What are some basic things you would advise parents on how to deal with finances, and what pretty much I want to say, how can you break the generational cycle of every
Cycle.
time having families end up in financial problems? Because unfortunately, you see in different cultures, certain cultures are always branded as not being able to do business and
Yeah.
not being able to deal with their finances the correct way.
Yeah, I think you have to kind of learn from other cultures as well. If you look at the Chinese community, um, usually why they see, like when I go for lunch or whatever, and the school is over, you will see like the Chinese kids in the father's shop also
Yeah.
working. It's very disciplined. They kind of gravitate towards that. You have the Indian community, the same thing. So if you look at the different cultures and see how they move, and they teach the children about money from a young age, responsibility, what it means to earn it, you know what I mean, and so forth. It's something that we have to also instill on our kids. So
Yeah.
with my daughter, what I do, I'm in certain foundations as well, and we have events. I just take her with me, and then she have to, for the sales of the drinks and with tickets or whatever, I leave her do it. I leave her
Okay.
cash the money, and she's only 11, and then I watch what she do, and she does an excellent job. You know what I
Nice.
mean? Then when I give her allowance, and I tell her, okay, you're gonna spend your money. No, I'm not spending my money. I'm gonna spend your money. She get very conscious, of. So I think once you expose them to that reality, you also have games you can expose them to, like Cash Flow from Robert Kiyosaki for kids, even Monopoly, just to expose them to money at a younger age. But you yourself have to be exposed,
Mhm.
and then you can also pass it on to your kids. So I think the knowledge is very important on that. And that's what I do with my child. I tell her, if you do very well in school, you get an allowance. I'm gonna take you here and there, so there's a reward factor. But I also tell her, look, money just don't come from trees. You have to be able to, and once you instill them, and children is catching on really fast, especially the once a day.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to put them in that environment, and also you be the teacher.
What are one of your biggest milestones you would say when it comes to helping companies and just in the financial, your financial career? What are one of your biggest milestones?
I think my biggest milestones is giving companies, and even people, the spark to take things to another level. You talk about kids a while ago. I did, me and my business partner, on the Second Chance. The Second Chance is also a business I'm a part of as well, and
Okay.
that's a recruitment and training. So we decided to do a little, I think it was a week or something like that, with young professionals,
Hmm.
and we train them about financial management, budgeting, and investing, and so forth.
Nice.
And those kids took it to the next level. I have one of them in particular right now.
Hmm.
He was telling me about crypto, and we was talking about it, and he blew me away with the knowledge that he had.
Okay.
And he said, one of the comments he made once was, with this whole budgeting and exposure, he like, man, I gotta think twice, even before I even buy a chiclet. You know what I mean? How bad it impacted them, huh? Just
Yeah.
to show them how the reality of people who don't budget well, and what they do, what happens to them, that just shocked them. And then realizing there's opportunities and stuff like that, just a different mindset. And I think that was my biggest, my biggest achievement, where I passed on the knowledge, because I'm not the brightest. I realize that people are much more brighter than I am, but
Yeah.
they have to get that spark. It
Yeah.
just takes a spark, and they can burn on the whole forest. That's just some people. Some people just are much brilliant than I am, but
Yeah.
it's someone to give them the spark.
And it's knowledge. I mean, you're explaining knowledge is power. And I mean, the
Yeah,
earlier you give the knowledge, the better chance they have of being able to be financially healthy.
yeah.
Um, what are other tips you would give businesses now when it comes to finances, maybe entrepreneurs now? What are some other things you would tell them to do and to deal with finances?
I think the pandemic has, it's bittersweet, I would say, because now some people have seen, that, hey, I could have really done things a bit different in my business,
Yeah.
because now I have to do it. I'm forced to do it to survive. You know what I mean? Some people are even doing like new creative products, like they will go online, like a restaurant now will go online and maybe do a session where they explain to people how to do a particular dish, and they charge for that. They charge maybe $50 for that, or they might have like a session at a location, that would show people how to do certain things, and they wasn't doing that before.
Yeah.
Understanding your cost structure now, you would see that, okay, with the pandemic, what is selling, you know For most people, that was deliveries. Deliveries now are picked up and so
Yeah.
forth. So it's about being now creative. So you can look at it as a loss and saying, "Oh, I'm gonna die because of the pandemic," or you can be creative, look at your business again, rethink, rebirth, and come back out stronger. You know what I mean? And some people has done that. Huh? I've seen
Yeah.
some people who've done that. So that's why I try to sit down with people and go ask them every single question to make sure that they have covered everything and done everything possible to see if they can save the business. Because
Mhm.
oftentimes people don't do that, but sometimes it's not triggered either. You need someone to trigger it in your head. And I will give some examples too. Have you thought about so and so and so? Oh no, I haven't thought about that. What would it mean for you to do so? Would it take a lot from you to do it or not? No, it
Mhm.
won't take a lot. Well, let's try that. So those are the type of things. Some maybe just need somebody like a listening ear. Like some women, I've heard that when you're talking with some women don't necessarily want you to give them advice. They just want somebody to be there as a listening ear. You know what I mean? And whatever. So sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you just have to start the conversation
Yeah.
and then, leave them talk. And as they talk, and say, but did you thought about so and so and so? And then they themselves say, oh, I didn't thought of that. And it
Yeah.
comes from them as well. You know what I mean?
Like I don't think, I mean, when you're so deep busy with your and stress is involved,
Exactly.
you're not,
Exactly.
stress is such a killer when it comes to
Exactly.
your finances.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think having a coach is definitely important. And even now in this time, that's why I was asking you, when is the right time to take somebody on board that's financially more smarter than yourself? And I think, if you can invest in that, definitely, and take courses like what you give to
Yeah.
understand better
Yeah.
what your finances are about. What is your hope? Do you think that it will get better when it comes to the financial industry within the Caribbean?
I think it will. For some people, it will get extremely well, and some people not. It depends on those who adapt it. Like I have a friend in Canada, a couple, they're married, and they was living in a certain area, very upscale. And when the pandemic happened, I tried to advise them. I said, okay, right now the area you're living in is going for like over 1 million. If you move to a place called Windsor, a little like the west, like close to Detroit in Canada, you can buy homes for like 200, $300,000. So you can actually sell your home over here for over 1 million, right? Pay off all your debt and buy a same similar size home in Windsor. Then you have a buffer because the gentleman lost, not didn't lose his job, but he was furlong. Furlong means he was kind of temporary laid off with only about 60% of his income or something like that. He's a pilot.
Okay.
And so I said, what you can do is if you do that, you can have a buffer to play with. You know what I mean? So they thought about it, they did it. And now today they're like, wow, this was the best decision we made. We are
Yeah.
debt free. We don't have to do this. We don't have to pay this. We don't have to pay that. You know what I mean? The property taxes is less. Everything is so much better right now. And they give them enough time to just decide what they're going to do going forward because they have that buffer. So
Mhm.
you have to make certain sacrifices. Like I'm not gonna lie, the video words was the bomb. I mean, the location, the upscale, but sometimes you have to sacrifice, especially in these times, to move to the next level. Some people are not willing to sacrifice. For example, I had a friend of mine in Canada. I
Yeah.
tried to advise her. She's struggling, and the job doesn't pay that much. So I tell her, "Can you work a second job?" Yeah, but it will make me tired. Okay. What about the place you're living at? How much you're paying right now? She's paying
Yeah.
1,200 Canadian dollars. I said that's a lot of money for one bedroom. So I went online, just looking in the same area she's living, and I found 2 bedroom, 2 bath units for
Yeah.
about, let's say, $1,500. Get a roommate. Get a roommate. You split the bill, 750, 750. You was paying
Yeah.
1,200 before. You do that for maybe 2, 3 years. You sacrifice. You save, get a buffer. She said, "Nope, I'm not doing that. I don't want to be living with nobody. It's comfort." Okay, I understand the comfort,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. Most people are not willing to sacrifice. And for me to get where I'm at, I've sacrificed a lot of stuff. But even sacrifice comes at a cost, though, right? It comes at a cost. You know what I mean?
It
And
does.
and so
It
yeah,
does come with a cost, but I think
yeah,
now that's the interesting thing that you said is that how far are you willing to go in this period of time? A lot of us, even myself, I've been
yeah,
forced to do different other things to be able to stay financially healthy, or be able to at least be able to take care of my bills and make sure that we're keeping going.
yeah.
But it's not that easy. I think that the switch of to go from living by yourself to living with a roommate, I can imagine that the person is thinking that is such a big change in my life. But
Correct. Correct. Habits
I,
habits are very hard to break. And don't get me wrong now. I love comfort. Like where I'm at now, where I'm staying now, I'm not comfortable because my mom is here with me as well. Because fixing up her home,
Yeah.
and she's been here for a while. And my house, my little apartment is like an office space and everything in one.
Yeah.
So it's not the ideal place to live at. I can go now and rent. I'm renting for $700. So 2 bedroom, 2 bath for $700. You can't get that in St. Martin.
No.
Now that's, you know what I mean. You just can't.
No.
It's not big. It's not that big, but it's manageable.
Yeah.
Now I can go ahead and afford to rent a big place for $1,800 a month. I can do that. But I'm saving up now to do my development in Anguilla. I'm planning to build 4 wheelers in Anguilla. So for me right now it's a sacrifice. And don't get me wrong, it's very irritating to be in a cooped up place and your mom there and this and that. It's very irritating.
Yeah.
But I realize that with the sacrifice is going to be worth it in the future. Not
Yeah.
everyone is able to do that. Huh? It takes a mindset.
It takes a mindset, and I think what I've heard you say is you got to know your business, you got to know
Yeah,
your team, you got to know the history of your finances.
yeah,
What I hear you keep in passive income that is also possible without the Caribbean, but you got to keep the bigger picture.
yeah.
And I think
Even yeah.
go ahead.
Even in a business, like sometimes you have to understand business cycles. Huh? Business cycles are ups and downs. Everything's have a business cycle. So there's never always a good moment in business. There's always going to be down cycles.
Yeah.
Pandemics just adds to that. Huh? You also have long-term and short-term debt cycles, which causes that actually amplifies the business cycle. Most people don't know that. So me knowing that, I always run a business differently. I
Yeah.
always run it with the fact that, okay, if something happens at this point, if the business cycle drops at this point, what I'm gonna do? I have to look at my costs. How much employees do I have? Do I want to have all those employees on my payroll? Do I use a job agency for some employees? So
Yeah.
these are the type of things you always got to be thinking about. The ups and downs of business is just a normal phenomenon.
So the
So you have
worst
to
case
plan,
scenario, you would say the worst case
right?
scenario,
So you have to
keep
plan
that
for
in
it.
mind.
You have to plan for that. You
Yeah.
understand? And most people don't do that. Most people go into the business very optimistic, but you don't understand business cycles. And cycles always come about. You just don't know at which point they're gonna get really bad. Because you don't know that, you have to be able to, in good times, invest the excess in something else. You know what I mean? So if I have excess money, I would try to invest in something else as a business. So what Top Carrot did, which is smart, I think what they did, they would buy at some point when the business next to them got bad, they buy out the unit. By buying
Uh,
out a unit now, you can rent it out. So yes, you have a restaurant and you whatever, but you're also a real
okay.
estate broker. You have a
Yeah.
real estate making income. So you
Yeah.
use the excess money now to diversify your stuff as well. Or you could set up a different company to hold the real estate. And you just keep diversifying because you know bad times are gonna come eventually.
Yeah.
And if you're only in one sector, if that get hit, then what do? You're not diversifying. You know what I mean? They always investment. They always tell you must diversify your portfolio. If you have a business, you have to do the same thing.
Okay. And I think that the diversification is something that in every sector we need to diversify more when it comes to the Caribbean. We've been talking
Exactly.
about diversification for a
Exactly.
very long time. But what
Yeah.
I hear often, and I can imagine if you're living on a small island or even if you're living in a bigger island country within the Caribbean, it's sometimes you don't see the opportunities because the market is so saturated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times you have the idea in your mind and you think you want to be the best at it. But if the market has, for instance, if you want to start a barbecue stand,
Yeah. Yeah.
but everybody does barbecue. Does
Everybody
it
does it.
make sense? I think that's a question that you may also have for yourself. If my passion is in barbecuing, does
Mhm.
it make sense for me to go ahead and do that now in this period of time? And I think that's where the struggle then comes of, do I stick to my passion or do I have to put my passion on the side for a while and do something to survive? So I can imagine that you probably had a lot of people thinking in that way. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not an
Yeah.
easy time.
But some people are creative though. I've seen some people where the passion is cooking, but they're doing, let's say, administration, or they're doing cashier or whatever. And
Yeah,
then on weekends or whatever, they do the barbecue. So what they do, they bill in their clientele because most people would, if people love your food, they're gonna come back, huh? That's just a
yeah,
given.
yeah,
That's in the restaurant industry I'm talking about, but it can be for anything. So
yeah,
you kind of like sample out the market while you have a steady income. You sample out the market until you build enough clientele, and then you maybe can move over to catering. And then from there, if it goes really well, you go over to a fixed location. So it depends on how you try to. That's why I tell people strategy. The class that I did in strategic management was my best class ever. It wasn't
okay,
finance. It was strategic management. The
yeah,
first thing the guy told us when he come into the class was, He put up a picture and he said, "What do you see?" Everybody in the class looked at this picture. Not one of us could figure out this picture. Huh? When the man turned upside down, literally, yeah, he said sometimes you have to look at things from the other side up.
Okay.
When all of us turn our head, we're like, oh, then we realize what the picture was about. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to look at things from a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
You see, and that's strategic management. You know, it's like strategy. How do you do this and do that? Look at the market, understand the dynamics. How can we penetrate? Do we even want to penetrate? And if we're going to do it, how are we going to compete? These are questions you always have to, even within your existing business, you have to ask these questions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to ask them.
It's a combination of research,
Yeah.
market research, strategy,
Right. Right.
analysis, knowing
Right.
your finance, and I think being honest about your financial history, because a lot of
Right.
times you're like, okay, it's gonna
Yeah.
work out. Let me just spend that, and we'll figure it out. I've been, like I watch some financial people online. What is your projection about when this economical crisis in the world will simmer down?
Well, the problem is it's a difficult question because I'm seeing three different issues happening all at the same time.
Yeah.
Prior to COVID, we had an issue of debt, not debt, sorry, income and wealth inequality. That was growing. Okay,
Hmm.
that was growing tremendously. So that the pandemic has actually only make that worse.
Yeah.
Then we had the system where the dollar and everything was dying actually, and that's one issue as well. And you have technology was going ahead and then making people obsolete in terms of jobs, something jobs or whatever. Now
Yeah.
all these three now has been sped up because of with the whole COVID, technology went to the roof in terms of Zoom, people working from home. Now people are moving out from cities now, going to suburbs now because they can work from home. They can then do their little own farming.
Yeah.
So all these things are actually coming together in one big, clash. So
Hmm.
how it's gonna materialize? It's tricky because the most governments are not tackling the source of the issue. They start tackling the symptoms.
Hmm.
You see, and so I tell people you have to be prepared because there will be a crash. They're also fighting cryptocurrencies, which is inevitable. So when the cryptocurrencies come mainstream, what's going to happen to the dollar? What's going to happen to the euro and
Yeah.
those type of things? So how are we going to deal with that?
We got
Personally,
a while to go. We got a
yeah.
while.
So me, I don't fight it. I got into cryptos as well. So I opened my brokerage account. I have my portfolio consists now also of cryptocurrencies. And so I just don't fight anything. I just go with what's going on, the mainstream, understand it, and try to invest, especially into food. So if you could get like farming stuff, like invest in a land
Yeah.
or whatever, that's for sure you have to do that. Cryptos and just spread it. Just be in terms of we call it talking about diversification.
Yeah.
That's what I do, and I also do it off island. Not most of my investments are actually off island, not even on island.
I
You
read
know what I
that.
mean?
Tell me a little bit about your off island because I think that's very also interesting and ambitious for people within the Caribbean. What do you do abroad when it comes to investments? What are your
Oh,
investments?
yeah. So for what I did first, I want to get properties first. So I have I actually grew up in Angola. So when I was looking for property, I looked at Angola because hey, it was cheaper. I bought land close to the beach, and
Hmm.
so that could be like a something that's for more high end or whatever the case is for people to stay there and whatever. So I looked at that. Then I looked at Belize. Why I looked at Belize was not only because of investment from a real estate point of view. I also looked at the landscape, the population size versus the land mass, the
Hmm.
natural resources, so the fertilized ground, the water flowing through the everything I looked at, and I said if the whole economies of the world fail, I can go Belize and still live comfortably because of the second largest barrier reef, so endless seafood. You can just put your line out without doing any effort and you can catch a fish.
Yeah.
Yes, understand? That's
Yeah.
just the way it is. I mean, just the seafood is just crazy. It's
Yeah.
so easy to catch food over there. The water, they have a natural water over there that very clean and everything. So farming is not even an issue. That's what I looked at as well.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Then I also look at Canada as a potential investment. And then I'm looking at now Malaysia.
Okay.
Yeah,
And do you help people to get into investment if they come to
yeah,
you and say, okay,
yeah,
very
yeah,
interesting, very
yeah.
interesting. No, I think you've given us a lot of knowledge on how to keep going. I think key in what you've also said is, and I think for a lot of us, we've been thinking, hold your breath in because it's going to be over in a year. And what you're saying is that no, just deal with the situation and you have to keep going and become diversify because you don't know when it's going to happen, but you need to continue going. So that's very good information. What other
But
advice? What other things you would like to share about finances?
but in addition to financing, there's a lot of people have some good skill set now that can actually do online. Like if you go to Fiverr, you have a next one called I think Skillshare or something like that. It's called.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if you get onto these platforms, you can also make money. Yeah. Because some of them are looking for instructors, coaches, or whatever to give classes, and they pay you for that. You know what I
Okay.
mean? If you yeah, you also have one where you can like they have like people looking for different type of work to be done. You can actually bid for certain jobs if you're skillful. So
Mm.
if you're not skillful, you can do online classes now very cheap. And then try to build up the skill set or whatever. But when you're bidding, then you have to probably bid lower because your skill set, your experience is not that high. So
Yeah.
there's all these different things. You just have to know them, get to know them, and so that's why in my radio program I expose people to all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like the last time I did a class, I did it via I got paid via PayPal. And some people took my class then in St. Thomas, off island. So that was interesting. One from Bahamas took my class as well. So
Mm-hmm.
now, experimenting with different things, and that's what you have to try to do.
That's interesting that you said PayPal because a lot of companies now that you're being now more forced to sell your products abroad. But a
Yeah.
lot of times the question is, can you have a PayPal account? How do you get a PayPal account within the Caribbean? Is it because I know in the past it wasn't that easy? Is it now more easier to get accounts set up to do international business?
Not on the Dutch side. So how I did mine was a workaround. Like I tell you, I'm off island, so I have accounts in Canada, bank accounts in Canada, Anguilla, and so forth and so
Ah,
forth. So
okay.
what I do, I linked my personal PayPal to my account in Canada, and that's how I was able to circumvent it. But I couldn't use the address from St. Martin though. I had to put my address from the person that I usually go by in Canada,
Okay.
and that's how I was able to get through with the PayPal. So that was a workaround. Another workaround is I think the French side accepted. So if you have access to the French side with an address, the address is the problem though. Huh? So when you're linking
Okay.
your PayPal, your address has to be either United States, Holland, maybe even Anguilla or whatever, where PayPal don't have an issue because our central bank actually has blocked PayPal from St. Martin. The same
Okay.
PayPal has to have a presence here so that they can control. But I said, why would PayPal come to set up a business in St. Martin for maybe only getting less than 1% of revenue? That don't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But crypto is going to change all of that. Because right now you have crypto. You can set up a crypto website and link it to your wallet, and people could pay you via crypto via wallet. So you can circumvent that whole nonsense.
I think the crypto conversation will have another time because it seems so vague to me,
Yeah,
but it's the trend right now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's a whole different conversation. What
It's
is
gonna be
crypto?
major though, huh? It's gonna be major because the crypto space now is actually making banks gonna fail.
Yeah,
Because now I don't need to open a bank account. Remember, you have about uh, millions of people that's unbankable. They don't have a bank account in certain countries.
true,
Now
true.
all you have to do is download a digital wallet on your phone, and you have a bank account. You see, and that has been a big problem. If you see the number of wallets being opened up in the last year or two, banks are getting very scared, very very scared.
But when do you think that will happen? Because I mean, I think the discussion now, even here in Suriname, you're wondering, okay, we have inflation,
Mhm.
but it could be that in a couple of years, the US devalues so much that your own local currency becomes more higher. And it's a whole discussion. Should you
Yeah,
save more in your local currency? Maybe that's a good question.
yeah.
What currency should you save? Would you advise to save the most in at
The
this
most
moment?
because remember you have I just want to answer you that you also be diversified within currencies. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So you can save some of your own currency, but you also should save the pound, like strong currencies, the euro. And for personally me, I put most of my money now in the crypto space because I think that's gonna be the future anyhow. Like Cardano is a cryptocurrency that's gonna have uh, wide usage. They're all in Africa now. And Africa is a big space. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Africa, Ripple is gonna be the banker's choice for cryptocurrency when it comes to transfers.
Hmm.
You have a number of the other cryptocurrencies that I would recommend as well, which is gonna do pretty good in the future. You have Theta. Theta is gonna take over YouTube.
Okay.
So YouTube now is gonna actually that's where YouTube starting to join with Theta because they realize the competition's coming and it will take me out. So rather than it taking me out, let me join it. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
Theta cryptocurrency can do very well. So these are the things you have to be monitoring, and most people are not doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Emilio, you have given me a lot of information. I think the listeners and viewers are also have gotten a lot of info on being financial healthy. Any closing remarks on how to stay financial healthy? Something that you've not mentioned as yet?
Right. So this is what I want to say before I close off. This is very, very important.
Yes.
Um, this every time persons go for a health check, most people do that. Everyone wants to know their health status, so they will go for a checkup by the doctor. The doctor will send them to do blood work or whatever.
Yeah.
Most people that I've been in contact with or whatever do not do a health check. What is a health check? You just sit down and look at all my assets. So you say, okay, what all do I have? What all do I own? Who all do I owe? What is my liabilities?
Yeah.
And then the difference between the two is something called your net worth, your personal financial net worth. That is something you should do at least every year, preferably every 6 months, but at least every year. Just like how you do a health check, you do a financial check. It's called a net worth statement.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you, okay, from year to year, how is my net worth is developing. Some people have a negative net worth, huh? In other words, they owe more than what they
Or
have.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a big problem, because you need to understand why. Because wealth is actually measured in time. So let's say your average spending. That's why you have to know what your spending is as well,
Mm-hmm.
and your break even spending is very important to know, because I'm explaining you why. Let's say you lose your job tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? How wealthy you are is determined by taking your net worth,
Mm-hmm.
right, and dividing it by your monthly expenses, and then it will tell you how much you are wealthy in months. Okay, so
Okay.
let's say you take all your assets, you subtract all your liabilities, and that comes up to, let's say, $1 million. And let's say you spend on average $2,000 a month. So if you lose your job tomorrow, with all your worth, you divide that by 2,000 per month.
Yeah.
That tells you how wealthy you are in months. That's how long you can survive without having to work for somebody.
Okay.
That's why knowing what your net worth is very important. Then when you have your monthly expenses, you could then divide it, and then you get an idea how healthy you are.
Mm-hmm.
Very important, because for some people it's very scary, huh?
It is scary, and I think
Yeah, it's
I
very
think I
scary.
think a lot of people have had that experience in the last year. You know, you
Yeah,
you you probably before the first COVID happened in COVID case in your country, you might have been having big projects that were coming,
yeah,
and because of COVID, everything is gone, and now
yeah,
businesses are not taking your, especially as consultants. It's very very scary, and it's scary to look at those numbers, but you said it. I mean, being financially healthy is being able to think differently, to be able to
yeah,
survive and keep going. And
yeah.
perfect
And think far
example of
ahead.
think far ahead. And if it
Yeah.
means getting a roommate, then you get a roommate.
You got it. You got it. Some people can't do it though. Trust me. Some people can't do it.
No, that's a hard
Yeah.
one. But if
Yeah.
it
It's a
means,
hard one. It's a hard one. Because personally, me, I don't like to live with nobody. After the experience I had in Holland, I don't like to live with anybody either. But if I have to do it, I will do it, huh?
yeah,
Because I know at the end of it what I'm doing it for. That's the thing. I'm not planning to stay in this forever, but I
no,
don't want to suffer in the future either. So I'm gonna sacrifice now to live better in the future. That's how I just think.
having a
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah.
Emilio, I want to thank you very much. I'm sure that in the future I will come back and ask. Well, we're gonna have a conversation about cryptocurrency because you need to
Okay.
educate me on that.
Okay.
Also, how do you get into the stock market? Because the stock market seems like it's something for rich people. Well, that's how I think. Rich people.
Used to be. Used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's also a very good way of having passive income. But like when you
Correct.
said, when you
Correct.
have the extra income to do
Correct.
something like that.
Correct.
So we're
Correct.
definitely gonna link back up. I
Okay.
want to
Sounds
thank
good.
you very much for your time and sharing your knowledge with me and with the viewers.
Thanks for having me. Actually, it was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.